Hello and welcome back to the Reaper. So we are going to do carrier landings, hopefully properly. So what we're going to have is we're going to have Sherman talking us through as the LSO. We're going to have Cap as the monkey in a cockpit. So the way the Grim Reapers work is that if Cap can do it, then anyone can do it. That's our basic philosophy. If Sherman can talk me down on the Case 1 carrier recovery, then you should be able to do it too. So first of all, what is a Case 1 recovery or landing, and why is there more than one case? Very briefly, please, Sherman.
Right, so there are 3 cases of departure and recovery performed in carrier operations, and these are primarily visibility and weather dependent. Today we are going to be looking at what's known as a Case 1, which is basically an ideal condition situation. The deck is relatively flat. You have a visibility greater than. The visibility here says... Sorry, found it. The cloud deck should be, or the visibility should be no lower than Angels 3 and a range of 5 nautical miles. So that's what a Case 1 is. A Case 2 typically will happen in what is where you have a carrier control zone of no lower than 1,000 feet visibility and 5 nautical miles distance. It's typically used in overcast. And then you have Case 3, which is typically used at lower than 1,000 feet visibility and less than 5 miles nautical visibility, or at night.
Right, so we're going to do a Case 1 because it's easy mode. Right, so you want me to come round on a... so how's it done? I have to do a diving turn, is that right?
Not quite. So what you're going to do is essentially a circuit, right?
Yep.
When you enter the pattern, you want to be above what's known as essentially a hard deck of 2,000 feet before you enter the landing pattern, which you're going to start in a counterclockwise from the about 4 o'clock of the ship. So you're going to pass with the ship on your left wing at whatever speed you want. You're then going to perform a brake turn to come downwind onto the ship. Halfway through the brake turn, so pretty much when your left wing is in line with the bow of the ship, you want to be at about 250 knots and get yourself to around an altitude of 600 feet as you come out of the turn. At that point, you want your flaps and your gear to be down, and you want to be putting your plane slowly down towards your ideal landing speed of somewhere between 130 to 140, getting your plane into the ideal angle of attack, which will have your flight path marker and your E bracket just below the horizon and in line with each other.
Right, okay, now I should point out I have landed before on a carrier, but I've never done this before, and I'm not much good anyway, so...
Yes, this is going to be a painful video, I promise.
Yeah, so this may take a few tries, disclaimer. Right, I'm coming down.
This will take a few tries.
I'm above 200 knots. Tell me when I want to start putting my stuff out. The earlier the better.
You can be at about 300 knots at about now, so you'd want to get just... Yeah, now you're entering the pattern, you want to get below 2,000 feet. Try and aim to get yourself at about 1,000 before you hit the brake turn.
I put my hook down, I put my gear down, I put my flaps down, so I'm all ready to go. I'm just getting...
You're supposed to wait for your flaps and... Sorry. So the idea would be you come in at about 300 knots with your gear and flaps up. So you're already on final, which is not correct. You're supposed to do a circuit around the carrier first. What you're performing is a straight in, not a Case 1 recovery.
Okay, that was weird. Let's go and do that again.
Right, now you can pull back entirely on your throttle for the moment because you just want to burn speed, and in fact you can use your air brake at this point. Right, so now you want to perform a brake at anywhere beyond this point. Try and pull 1% of your speed in G.
Roger, done.
So it's a little fast in the turn, but that's alright. Just keep slowing down until you reach about 170. Alright, now you want to come roughly, keep turning, keep in line with the ship at this point. Now you want to level out, drop your flaps in gear, and try and lower your speed to about 140 knots.
Just getting everything set up. Gear down.
Alright, now keep your nose at about 6 degrees. Look out to your left and you should see the grey patch at the stern of the deck.
A firm.
Right, so at this point what you would do is you would turn in at a 30-degree turn to come in on final, keeping your nose roughly at 6 degrees and your flight path marker and your angle of attack indicator just below the horizon. Now you are 300 feet high, but for training purposes we'll just go through the theory a few times.
I'm going to have to go burn it on.
Yeah, you're going to have to basically use anywhere from 95 to full mil power just to keep the thing from dropping out the sky.
This is hard. Right, okay.
Alright, so keep up the turn until you come in line with the carrier. You can also cage and uncage your HUD to make it easier to see. Okay, so you are coming onto the turn. That's good. You're actually coming fairly well in terms of your lineup. Keep that nose at 6 degrees and use power to adjust your height. Okay, cut power, you're coming high.
Come on, you stupid piece of crap.
Come right for lineup, power.
6 degrees. Bit wonky, but...
Little power. Power. Ooh, that was very rough, Walter.
Right, so...
But that is the basic theory of it. So what we need to change there this time is just a bit of practice with throttle control. I'm not going to give you criticism for that. But you want to be at about 600 feet when you're on the downwind. So get yourself to about 140 knots. Your flight path marker should be just below the horizon, and you should be at about 600 feet.
Roger, too high, so let's just lose...
Yeah, you are very substantially high. For now, because we're practicing, don't be afraid of going long in the downwind, just so we can get the practice down.
Yeah,
that's still afterburner, by the way.
Yes, okay. I just want about 150 knots. Right, yeah. So I understand. So when you get better, you can bring that downwind in, I guess.
Yes. So what you want to be practicing now while you're in the downwind is keeping your nose at about 6 degrees and using your thrust to angle your flight path marker.
Affirm. Right. I think we can do a diving turn now.
Yes, so all you're trying to do is keep your flight path marker slightly below the horizon with your angle of attack indicator. Your nose must maintain about 6 degrees at all times.
I affirm. Got it.
Remember, you're using roughly 95% to full mil power at this time. Okay. Your nose is coming a bit low.
Nose up. 6 degrees. Add more power because I am sinking too fast.
Alright, yes.
Okay, that feels a little better. She's stabilizing.
Yeah, you are slightly long in the groove, but that's fine. That's what practice is for. Okay, you need to come a little left now. In fact, you need to come substantially left. And add a little power.
Affirm. Feeling a little bit better.
Okay, you're in for lineup, but you are a little slow, so lower your nose slightly and add a... Yeah, just lower your nose a little bit.
Nose down.
Power.
6 degrees. Power on.
Okay, wave off.
Waving off.
That was...
Too short
yeah,
again.
that was a hooks. Well, yes, so essentially what you really have to practice here is getting used to getting your nose at the 6 degree angle constantly, and then initially lining up using your flight path marker and your angle of attack indicator. They both need to be together for the landing to work. And what you're aiming for is what's known as the crotch of the ship, which is essentially a point where the takeoff deck and the landing deck separate. So initially you want to try and line up your angle of attack indicator and your flight path marker on that point while keeping 6 degrees. You'll want to be at about 400 feet when you come out of the turn.
Yeah, it's difficult than a straight in. With a straight in, you get loads of time to get everything right. But on a turning like this...
Remember, you're free to extend your downwind as much as you want for the purposes of practicing today. Another thing to note, for now, because we're doing case 1, I'm going to allow what's known as deck spotting. So that's essentially the practice of letting the flight path marker indicate where you're going to land. In the real world, they basically consider this practice abhorrent, and you want to be using the meatball as your correct indicator.
If I'm right, I'm 600 feet, 140 knots, all that's perfect. I'm going to put power on for the turn, and it's going to be a tight turn because obviously I came in a bit.
Yes, remember, when you're entering the turn, because you're turning, your lift will decrease, so you need to increase your thruster up to full mil to compensate.
Agreed. climbing a little bit.
Right.
Angle.
Yeah, so as you level out, just drop and raise your thrust just to align it properly.
Hey, firm, how's my angle?
Okay. Yeah, you need to come right.
Coming right. And a bit more power.
Yeah, what you need to learn is how to get the adjustments just right on the power. Okay. Little power.
Right, that's feeling a little bit better.
Okay, you're little slow, and you're coming high.
Right, I got my E-brackets sorted this time. Actually, it's a bit...
Little power.
Little power.
Okay, you're good for lineup. You're a little slow. Nose down. Coming high.
Yep, I'm going to come off the power.
Okay, yeah, little power. Don't settle.
6 degrees alpha.
There
Yay! Finally. Right. So let's conclude.
If there's any proper LSOs out there, see if you can grade that to the best of your ability.
Right. So it's different from a straight-in landing. So what we're doing is we're coming over the ship. We're taking a left. At which point we want 1% G per knots of speed. Then we're heading on the downwind at about 600 feet was the downwind?
Yes, the downwind is about 600 feet. You want to have your angle of attack and your flight path indicator initially lined up for your turn in on final. And you want to come out of the turn at your landing speed and roughly 140, 130 knots. You will adjust accordingly because you obviously use power to adjust your height in the groove.
Roger. Okay, so I've got the idea of that. I'm going to have to do some practice now because that's actually quite hard, but good fun though. What about if I'm carrying a heavy? I mean, I was fairly heavy there because I got full fuel, but if I was carrying ordnance, would I do anything different? Speed higher maybe, or?
There's a maximum limit of that weight that the Hornet should be at when you land. Let me just check this out. Its maximum trap weight should be 34,000 pounds.
24? 34.
34.
Right, okay, so that is what we landed at just now, 34. So we just landed at the maximum trap weight, so you wouldn't be any heavier than that anyway. So what we've done there, pretty much as hardest as you're going to get in terms of weight. Good.
In the event that you're heavier than that and you still have stores, the first thing you would do is dump fuel. And if you can't dump fuel, well, then you have to consider either burning off the fuel by standard flight or jettisoning your ordnance depending on the gravity of the situation.
Roger.
There is one other thing that we should cover, and you can do that from where you're sitting on the deck actually, and that's the meatball or the IFLOS.
Right.
You can see a set of green lights, and you'll notice if you look at it at a different height angle, you'll see a set of yellow and red lights will appear.
Right, do they work?
They do work, yes. In fact, they should be your primary landing instrument when you're performing a carrier landing. This is what is known as the meatball. Right. Basically, this tells you how high or low you are on the glide path. This thing actually has more authority than your flight path marker and your AOA indexer. Main reason being there's a number of factors which can render your flight path marker and AOA indexer irrelevant, such as a moving deck in rough seas or a failure of your HUD. So remember when I talked to you about the thing I called deck spotting? Deck spotting is the practice of using your HUD instruments for your flight path marker and your AOA indexer to determine your landing approach. And now that's very dangerous for the reasons I just mentioned. So what you actually want to do is get in the habit of reading the meatball to determine what you need to do.
And which colours mean what?
Yellow indicates the position of you in the glide slope, as well as the red lights. Those are the central lights. The ones on the left and right are what is known as datum lights. There's an additional set of lights which are currently off at the moment, a couple of green ones at the top, which are used as indicator lights for certain information when operating under low communication scenarios. For example, case 1 is meant to be done almost entirely ziplip, but because me and Cap are basically both very incompetent at this, we were working with LSOs. there are also a set of red lights following alongside of the datum lights you can see there. Those are the wave-off lights. If you see those, add power and just go over the deck.
Oh, right, I think I get it now. Okay, we're going to have some practice for that then. My eyes are so bad though, Sherman. My eyes.
In practice, what you want to do is use the flight path marker and the AOA indexer to perform the initial lineup, then get your eyes on the ball. And then use the ball as your reference. If your ball is above the datum lights, you reduce your power a little bit to bring the ball back into line with the datum lights.
Oh, okay.
If your ball is below, if the ball is below the datum lights, you add power. If the ball is in the red, definitely add power and look for the wave ball, because you might need it.
Awesome. All right, cool. I'm glad that works. I'll have some practice with that, but that sounds good. Anything to add to Case 1 recovery before we sign or?
What I have given is a very much a layman's description as I understand it, description of it. Anyone who has proper experience, former Hornet pilots or LSOs, you're more than welcome to provide more accurate information in the comment section. I know there's a couple of Hornet pilots, or at least one Hornet pilot who's done videos on doing a proper Case 1 recovery with his own information. So I highly encourage you, if you're interested in the more technical details, at looking at that. And otherwise, practice, because I still need a lot of work on this.
Roger that, cool. All right, we'll sign off, and I hope that helps, and we'll see you later.